And I got Kyle Butler here today. Thank you, Patreon supporters. As always, I appreciate everything you do for me, supporting me. This is another one of those free videos that I'm doing. I'm talking to Kyle Butler. If you don't follow Kyle Butler, you need to. We just had him on the Heretic Happy Hour. It's our most recent episode, and it was a blast talking to you, Kyle. Thank you for talking to me this evening. How are you?
I'm doing good, and let me start by saying thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I've watched you from a distance. I admire you, your voice, your message, your courage, the things you say, and it's inspiring. So thank you. I'm happy to be here with you.
Well, likewise. Thanks, man. I know, I don't even know. We've probably been friends on Facebook for a while. We just started talking more recently, a little more, and I like it. I like engaging with you. What you're saying is like on point. I love it. But what we're doing for these free episodes on Patreon is I'm talking to different Black folks that I've just met, that I've known for 10 years, that I played hockey with. I just had AJ on. I was telling you about him. I've talked to folks like Derek Day, who I've been Facebook friends for a while now. I talked to my girl Tanya, and I just literally met her husband, and I had an hour conversation that I released yesterday, and it's enlightening. And I'm trying to learn about Black folks who I admire, and learn about your pain. And I want to be able to, I want people to be able to listen. And I know you can carve out your own platform. You don't need my help, but I love having the opportunity to learn. And right now what Black folks are going through has to be difficult. I just want to get your thoughts on everything, and then just see where the conversation goes, man. And yeah.
Cool. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. So how you feeling right now, man?
I'm hurt, of course. When I think about what just happened with our brother George, I still feel the pain of that. I still feel the effect of, and the thought of, and the feeling of, it's me. Frustrated, aggravated, angry, disappointed, all those types of feelings that have been here for a while. I'm a very laid back, easygoing kind of person. I do understand that things will happen. I've accepted that a long time ago. Grew up in a very tough home with some tough situations. So I formed an opinion very early on. This stuff is going to happen. And I've tried to look at things by always being positive. So I'm the forever optimist. I'm the forever positive person. I'm always trying to find the good in something, the best case scenario, glass full kind of a person. But in these kind of moments, sometimes it's really hard, because it's something that just keeps reoccurring over and over and over and over again. So right now, I want to say I'm numb, but maybe more than numb. I just hurt. I just feel a lot of pain.
Yeah. And I've heard different folks being at different places. Like I listened to Steven Jackson, the former NBA player.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm not crying anymore. I've done cried. I cried enough. I don't have any more tears to shed. And it's like, I'm motivated. And then there's folks who are hurting. There's folks who are crying. And so it's like, it seems like it's all over the grief cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's been a lot. It's been over and over. And sometimes, and this is the sad part, is sometimes you forget when things happen, because there's been so many. You're like, oh, when did that happen? What year? 2012, 2014? Yeah. I don't even remember anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing too. It's repetitive.
Yeah.
It keeps happening. And you would think that the last one, whichever one that was, if it was Arbery perhaps, or, the last unarmed Black person that was shot, killed, murdered, perhaps, however you want to call it, you would think the last one would have been the last one. You would think collectively as a group of people here, at least in America, we would say, okay, enough is enough. I'm not going to be part of that anymore. I'm not going to contribute to it anymore. Enough is enough. You would think that would have been the case, but not to dwell on the past, but I mean, you would have thought that, after the first lynching, that would have been enough, or
Right.
after the first slave ship, that would have been enough, or after the first, brutal beating because a black person wanted to sit at a white counter would have been enough. The first time dogs got, let loose on innocent black people, you thought that would have been enough. Fire hoses. I mean, just over and over and again through
Yeah.
history, all these events, you would think, okay, the one time it happened, the second time it happened, okay, the consciousness of America says, okay, enough is enough. We're never going to see this again. We're never going to do this again. But unfortunately, we haven't got there yet.
Yeah, I started thinking about that, and white folks are notorious for doing this, so I apologize on behalf of all white people. Is that they'll talk about Martin Luther King, and they'll say, "Oh, this is the right way to do it. This is what affected change." And it's like, yeah, I agree. However, we're still here.
Yeah.
However, so don't use that as a way to silence what's going on right now. Like, yeah, I'm a peaceful person. I don't think, I would hope I'm not going to be like retributive. I hope I would not be violent about something, but I don't know at the same time when pushed to the brink. So I on the one hand want to, of course, be like, yes, non-violence. I write books about that. I do all that shit. But when people are pushed to the corner and they feel hopeless,
yeah,
you can't expect the black person to sit there and take it and have that same mentality that white folks have been using. Like, you just sit there and take it. Like, we're in charge. You guys do what, we expect you to do, to be the good, silent, whatever. And so how are you surprised that this is going on?
Yeah. I'm not, I'm not a rioter. I'm probably not even a protester in the sense of going out publicly,
Sure,
joining my voice and my body and my presence with a group of people. Now, I'm not against that. They just probably won't ever see me in a rally or anything like that. I don't understand the looting and the burning down of our property. That I don't understand that. I don't see what that accomplishes. I don't see what that does as far as a sense of, oh, okay, yeah, see. Now, having said that, I do understand, however, why it's happening.
right.
Back in 1800s, during the heat of slavery, there was a black slave, Nat Turner, and his slave masters taught him how to read with the plan of teaching him, hoping that he would read they wanted him to take the Bible and take these biblical stories about slavery and obey your master and things like that and teach it to the slaves, because they wanted to use this as a weapon, a tool to keep them in line. So they taught him how to read, and they gave him a Bible. And initially he went out to kind of follow this pattern, but the problem was they gave him the Bible. And not only did he read the stuff in the Old Testament about slavery, but he also read the Jesus stuff and the love stuff. And it started to mess with his mind a little bit. Now, what he did was he got some people together, some other slaves together, and they said, enough is enough. We're going to attack this system. So they went to several plantations in this area and unfortunately killed the white slave owners, maybe 5 or 6 families, brutally killed them. Of course, this was wrong. Of course, this was not the right way. But to a group of people that had been enslaved and beaten, and their wives had been raped, their children had been taken from them. I mean, after all this time, this rage, this anger, this we got to do something, and this is what they decided to do. Well, they ended up getting caught, of course, and the establishment at that point said, we need to make an example out of these. And they really, really beat them down really bad, killed them, just really, really destroyed them. Often with the crowds of white people applauding, celebrating, things like that. So this sent a message to the other slaves. You can't do shit about this. And if you try, we'll put you down like this. Yeah. So I think that's still in the consciousness of Black America, perhaps. Perhaps we feel like there's nothing we really can do.
Yeah.
You know, we wait for the justice system to help us, but it doesn't help us very often now, does it? I mean, people, they get arrested, they go to jail for a little while, they go to a trial, they get acquitted. And we see this happen over and over again. So again, I don't condone the looting and the rioting and the destruction of property, but I understand it because perhaps they feel through the anger and the rage and disappointment that this is all we can do.
Yeah.
This is the only way we can be heard. This is the only way we can voice our hurt and our pain. This is the only thing we can do to be seen.
Yeah. And this is just simply what happens when you force people to feel hopeless.
Yeah.
And this is what we've done in America for a long time. A lot of people want to say get over it and all this stuff, and it's like, on the one hand, like there's a nugget of truth behind like, okay, this is the way it is, and I still got to be me. I still got to do something for my life, regardless of my circumstances.
Sure.
There's a nugget of truth there.
Absolutely.
But this whole business about, well, that was back then. We did all this slavery stuff back then, and now you should have the same opportunities. It's simply not true.
No.
It's simply not true.
No.
And so I get it. I'm like you. I'm like, yeah, I don't protest for like LGBT stuff. I don't protest for these rallies. It's just not what I do in terms of like actually marching in whatever context. I'm not against it. I have friends who get arrested all the time. Like I know people who literally get arrested for some shit. And I'm like, damn, okay, I respect that, but I'm going to write books or I'm going to have a podcast. I'm going to talk. Like we all have a different calling, right? So I'm like, yeah, but I get it. I do get it. And I'm not Black, but I still like, yeah, I get that. I can understand feeling hopeless and what I might do. I'm not sure what I would do.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, there's another aspect too that I really feel to be very important for us to understand. You know, there's already a stigma. There's already a stereotypical view. There's already a bias, cultural bias. There's perceptions. These things are already out there. There's a thought maybe prevailing even that says these people are animals. They're wild animals. So when we do that on that level, it only enforces that belief system and it strengthens that belief system. It doesn't help us there that way. I think we can protest and we should let our voices be heard, but I think we can do it just by being in the streets, chanting, yelling, without the over the top, extra, the violence and the carnage property wise and business wise is coming as a result of it. Because I think that's the image that's going to get played over and over and over again. And that's what people are going to see more and more and more and more and more. And it's not going to help the cause overall. Right now, we want people to feel the pain of what happened to another human being. Mm-hmm. That's what we want. We want people to feel that pain. We want people to understand this was wrong. This was unnecessary. This was a human being whose life got taken away unnecessarily. There was no just cause for this. And it happened to be a person of color. And we want people to be empathetic. We want people to feel and put themselves there, because that's really what empathy says and does. Hey, you know what? I understand how you feel. I see what you're saying. I may not have experienced it personally, but I feel it as if it were me. If we can raise this empathy, if we can raise this compassion within humanity as a whole, let that spread. Let that go out. Let that resonate more and more and more, because this is a moment for us. As I said the other day, a tragedy should bring us together. That's what 9/11 did. That's what every tragic moment did. It brings people together. And this should be a moment where we're coming together with one unified voice saying, again, this is wrong. This shouldn't happen. This should never happen again. And we're going to make sure that it never happens again. So back to that, I understand why it's happening. I just wish it wasn't happening to the
Yeah.
degree where we can add fuel to that fire of a bad perception.
Yeah. Well, and I think ultimately the change that lasts will come not from the riots themselves. That's what I'm guessing. I'm hoping that, because I feel like this is just the reaction to another black man getting killed in the streets. It took them a while to even bring charges about their third-degree murder charges. I'm guessing if it was a black cop or a black dude putting his knee on a white woman or something, or a white man even, it's going to be a little different. So yet another one of these instances. But what, as I mean, I'm guessing the violence and the looting and all that kind of stuff is going to calm down after a little bit.
Yeah.
And then hopefully that's when the fruit comes. Like, we start having effectual change. I don't know. What would you think the change, what's like one of the first things that needs to change on a practical level? I mean, is it just conversations that we're having as humans, or like, do we get down to how do we change policing? How do we change criminal justice? I mean, have you thought about some like maybe practical steps of how we need to change?
Well, I think we have to start with the conversation.
Sure.
We have to be willing to talk about it. What you're doing, what I'm doing, what we're doing. We need the conversation because we need to hear the different perspectives, right? There's words that and phrases that are thrown out there and out there in our, in our environment. And they're phrases that have a different feeling for different people. For example, the phrase white privilege enrages some people, makes some people very angry.
We get a little defensive, don't we?
Yeah. Now, I can tell you what I, as a black person, when I hear the phrase, what I believe it means. I believe it means that it would not have been a white person down there like George was, with the knee of an officer on his neck. That's what I consider white privilege.
Sure.
If this was a white person, this would not have happened. There's nothing in my mind that can tell me it would have happened that way. Maybe they would have done that long enough to subdue the person, but it wouldn't have carried on that long, especially through the cries of "I can't breathe" and so on and so forth. I'm sorry, I just can't see that in my mind.
Yeah.
Me, if it were a white person. So that's what I see and understand when I hear white privilege. Now, maybe it means other things to other people. I don't know. Much like the phrase Black Lives Matter also enrages some people. Some people hear it as our lives matter more than yours.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying, at least. What I'm saying is Black lives in these moments, in these scenarios, in these cases, seemingly are treated as if they don't matter. So in these moments where police brutality or vigilantism or whatever it is, in these moments when you see a Black person, don't treat them as if their lives don't matter. That's what I hear when I hear those two phrases. And I know it may trigger people differently. So I think having these conversations is a big step in the right direction, because we need to hear each perspective. I've talked to several white friends of mine who called me and shared with me their perspective on how they hear the phrase white privilege and how they hear the phrase Black Lives Matter and what it means to them when they hear it and how it triggers this anger within them. I've heard them tell me their perspective, and I appreciate their perspective and I respect their perspective. And then I'm able to share with them what I hear when I hear those phrases, what I understand those phrases to mean. And they get to hear my perspective. And you know what? They walk away saying, wow, Kyle, I never thought about it like that before.
Yeah.
So I think the conversations are important. It's a good place to start. But then we also need other real change, because the conversation just kind of gets us in the door. We need justice system reform. The justice system just is not as equally uh, situated for everyone. It's just not. I know on paper it says it is, but it's just not. It's just not. The incarceration rate, the conviction rate, the what we find coming out of the Innocent Project, and all these overturned death sentences and life sentences for people, innocent Black people who didn't commit the crime, who were convicted on very piss poor evidence. I mean, these kind of things we see happening over and over and over again after spending 20, 30, 40 years of their lives in jail, coming back to be exonerated. Yeah. The justice system isn't fair. We aren't always at a place that we feel like we're going to get a fair trial, and or the people who did the crime against us is going to be able to be convicted under the law. Now, someone will say, well, Kyle, that happens with everyone. And I agree. People get, they don't get convicted. People get acquitted and things. I know that happens. I know it does. But it seemingly happens from a disproportionate disproportionate way for people of color. We seem to be at the end of the wrong side of this more than we are at the right side. So the justice system needs some major adjustments. The police system, I mean, I don't know many people that know me outside of my family and close friends that know this. But I'm not a violent person. I'm not a confrontational person. I'm not a riotous person. I'm a very easygoing, laid back person, very respectful. Twice in my life, simply because I'm driving my car, twice in my life while getting pulled over, I got pulled over, and twice in these moments, guns were drawn on me.
For real.
Not because I was suspected in a homicide, not because they were arresting me with a warrant for some hideous crime, not because I had a gun and I flashed it at the cops and they pulled their gun in response.
Yeah.
Not because of any of those things, but twice in my life, I've gotten snatched out of my car at gunpoint by police officers. Now, I don't hold any animosity or anger or resentment towards police officers, but that happened to me twice in my lifetime. So there has to be reform.
Yeah.
And it has to happen, number one, on a human level. Human beings need to understand that, whether we fully understand it or not, but when you're looking at me, you really are looking at yourself.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes we talk the talk of, I don't see color. And I don't know if that's what we should be trying to do.
No.
I mean, I don't understand how that's going to really help. Now, I understand what we're trying to say.
But we're lying. Come on.
Right. But we are people of color. We're different shades. I mean, we should learn how to not try to deny this. We should learn how to appreciate this and celebrate this diversity and feel comfortable with different shades around us. It's a beautiful thing, actually. It's part of God's design, his plan.
Yeah.
We're the ones that effed it up. We're the ones that said, oh, this color and that color, and let's separate. We did that shit, not God. God's design was perfect, for us to live in perfect harmony, and we would have. Now, let me just say this part, and I'm so sorry, I kind of hijacked this whole thing.
No, this is your time, man. I just think it's funny that you said effed it up and then you said shit.
I know. I still try to be a good Christian sometimes, whatever that is.
I was like, oh, religion's still in there, man.
I know.
I do it too.
My mama might hear this later, so
No one listens to my YouTube. You're fine.
But, I know that historically speaking, probably every civilization, every group of people, every nationality has been enslaved by another at some point. Historically speaking, from the time of humanity, I'm sure that has happened. The French have enslaved the Germans have enslaved the British. I mean, the Romans. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Everyone's been enslaved. Biblically speaking, we see it all the time, right? They were captured. They captured other people, so on and so forth. And I know this has always happened, but every group that has enslaved another group or imprisoned another group or dominated another group, at some point, they were able to heal from that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that since our imprisonment, enslavement was the latest, I think that we just haven't fully healed from that.
Mm.
I mean, it's still pretty recent in history.
Sure.
Now, what I hope and what I believe and what I desire, that as we continue to progress forward, as more time continues to grow between the event and where we are, I believe that we'll move far away enough from this, where the stain and the stench and the hurt and all those things that we still feel from time to time will be far removed from the consciousness of humanity, especially the white-black consciousness here in America. I have great hope for that. I think everyone who looks at it from a perspective of what they see coming in the generations to come, they hope for that. And we have had tremendous change and advancements in this in some ways.
Sure.
But we still can't ignore the systemic racism and the underlining issues that are still at hand. And I think this is what we can do when we get together and talk about it. We can make people aware of what's happening. And by that, hopefully we're raising the consciousness of other people who probably haven't ever felt it before, experienced it before, and probably never even did it before. You know, I don't by any stretch of the imagination believe that all white people are racist. I've never believed that. There's nothing inside of me that'll get me to believe that. I have, more white friends, than probably black friends actually in my life. I lived in environments where we're really the minority as far as the numbers are concerned. Maybe we were 10% in the town I lived in. We're 10% black, maybe 80% white, and the other 10% was mixed up with Hispanic and Asian and, what have you. So my experience with white America overall has always been wonderful for the most part. You feel a little something here and a little something there from time to time. You get a look here and a look there from time to time. You get, that person that's just rude or nasty. So you kind of think, well, maybe they're racist, perhaps, I don't know. But overall, it's been a very beautiful experience. And I think that's what it's been for most people. It's just that when these little moments happen and when they're put in front of us again, it just brings back all of that hurt, anger, and rage that we felt in times past. So if we can eliminate that, and I think we will, I think we'll get there. I believe we will, where these moments won't happen. At least I hope so.
Yeah, I think you bring up so many good points. I love your optimism, man. I think you're optimistic without being full of shit. Like, it's sincere. like you see the pain, you see the struggle. You're skeptic at times. I'm sure you understand it, but at the same time, like, you still see. You're not being dualistic, right? You're being both. Like, this is real stuff, and I still want to see the glass as half full. And it's nice to know that, like, that you're having positive experiences with white people. See, I've come to the place where I think it's not bad to be white, but
No.
whiteness as a structure is the problem, I think.
Yeah.
See, because my people used to not be white. Now we're white. Sicilian Americans are white. Yeah. Back in the day, we were Dagos. We were white N-words.
Yeah.
So it's like, this thing is really just a concept that changes and ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
And it's not bad to be light skinned. In the winter, I'm light skinned, and in the summer, I get more dark. I'm not as dark as my ancestors, but whatever. That's whatever. We're all different.
Yeah.
It's the structure of whiteness that's the problem. It's seeing whiteness as a power over.
Right.
And that's the problem. And I think that's when people hear white privilege or white fragility, they get defensive. It's not about your skin.
No.
It's about the structure of whiteness as it's been historically speaking against Native Americans, against Black folks, against even Irish, who are way paler than I am, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's a structure, not necessarily even the color of your skin.
Yeah. A friend of mine, we were having this conversation the other day, And he brought up something good. And that's why we need to talk, because we're going to hear different perspectives. And for people who are willing to listen, because not everyone's going to listen. Not everyone wants to listen. They want to keep their perspective, and they want to project only what they perceive. And that's okay. You know, I respect your perspective, but I'm only going to ask that, will you respect mine? Will you respect the person next door? Just because you see it one way, that doesn't mean that's the way it is. That's just your perspective. You frame this perspective based upon your experiences in your life. It doesn't make it right. I have some wonderful friends I've talked to over the past few days that have told me, Kyle, I didn't grow up around Black people, and I don't know a lot of Black people. My experience with Black people isn't very much, but man, I want to know more. Yeah. And they call me to ask me what the Black experience is like. And I share to them what the Black experience is like. What some of these things have happened to me, which I believe simply because I've been Black. Mm-hmm. And they say, wow, Kyle, I told my one friend about getting pulled over by police at gunpoint, or having guns drawn on me twice. And he said, Kyle, I've never, ever, ever gotten pulled over in my life thinking this may not go well for me. Yeah. This may not end well. Never. It's never a thought that entered my mind. Yeah. Well, it's a thought that enters my mind every time I get pulled over.
Every time.
I have to think that way every single time. Yep. Now, I've had pleasant experiences with officers. So I'm not saying that this is the case for all situations. It was just those 2 times, for whatever reason, I would like to think because I was Black, it made it what it was. I'm not going to go into details about what happened, but in both cases, I mean, again, they didn't have a warrant to arrest me for murder. Yeah. Like you see on these shows where they come in full force and they pull you over and they come all out, get out the car, because they got a warrant to arrest you for murder or something. It wasn't the case. In both cases, I was just pulled over. Anyway, but I talked to a friend of mine who's Black, and he said, Kyle, part of the problem is the founding, fathers and the founding people of this country were in England, and they came over here to get away from the oppression that they were enduring in England. But they were used to a rule system, ruling, being in power, being in control. They were used to this. Now, although they did not want to set up the same structure here, like king and all that stuff, but still ingrained in them. I think he was saying subconsciously, they needed someone to rule. Yeah,
it's always one right? Or the other.
Yeah. So the first targeted people were the Native Americans. Let's make them our subjects. Yeah. And unfortunately, we have these history books that tell us a story that's far different than what the actual story really is.
Truth. Truth. Yeah.
And I would love to get the actual history from Native Americans, Black people, women, children, abused people. I would love to have them write the history books, tell what the real story was like. Yeah. Because what we got was the version from the conquerors and the victors who said, we're going to tell the story this way. So let's make the Native Americans savages so we have a right to go in and kill them and take their land and segregate them and do all these kind of things, because we're going to create a perception that they're savages. Yeah. So let's write in their history books that they're out raping our women and they're killing our kids. So let's create this image and this propaganda that this is what they're doing. So when we go kill them and massacre them and steal their land, everyone will think, yay, we're killing the savages. Yeah. We're the victors. Yeah, good old Custard and the boys.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's not the case. You had people that were here minding their own business. For all intent and purposes, we can definitely assume they were peaceful people. There was more than enough land here for the people that came here to do whatever they wanted to do, So, again, I'm not trying to harp on that particularly, but it is seared in the subconsciousness of, a portion at least. And I do think it's changing, though. I do think it's getting away from that. I think more people that see it and understand it. And I've heard people in the white community, I've heard white middle-aged men say, the problem is white older men in power. That's the problem. Now, I'm not saying that. I didn't say that. White middle-aged men say that
You're
stuff.
just quoting white folks.
I'm just quoting white middle-aged men. And they talk about it more so in the church structure.
Yeah.
Say, hey, it's time to get these old white men that's been in power for a long time. Let's get them out, and let's get some color in here. Let's get some diversity in here. Let's get some women in here. Let's get some people of different sexual orientation in here. Let's get some other people in here. Let them lead us for a while, because clearly we're not doing a very good job.
Yeah.
I love hearing stuff like that. Not because I want to be down, let's kill the white man. Let's bring the white man down. That is nowhere near in my vocabulary.
Yeah.
But what people are starting to understand is that this power structure as it is just not good for all of us.
Sure.
Together. And if we want to make this good for everybody, it can't be one segment of power with one group of people that look a certain kind of way.
Yeah. 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 Dude, that was great. I think that was so on point. It's funny because you know what? Like, in a different circumstance, in a different situation, it could be black folks in charge and white folks feeling oppression. You have no idea how the tables could turn.
Yeah.
You have to see yourself in the person that is getting oppressed more often than not. You have to have empathy.
Yeah.
Just the way it is, like, you could be right there if you were born in a different circumstance, if you're a white supremacist. And I don't even think like individual racism is the problem. I think systemic racism is.
Yeah.
But you could be a white supremacist born in a different situation. You could be a black man. You could be a homophobic person and born in a different circumstance with different genetics or different whatever. You could be a gay man or a gay woman.
Yeah.
You have to see yourself in the other person. And then it's like, at least that gives you a different perspective.
Yeah.
You still have choices after that. You still got to learn. You still got to grow. You still got to have these conversations. But at least you're being empathetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to see yourself. I don't care what color skin you are. You have to see yourself in George Floyd.
Yeah. Yeah.
Knee on your neck, crying out for your mom, knowing your daughters don't have your dad coming home.
Yeah.
See yourself in that.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck, I got to change okay, I don't care if I'm white, brown, black, whatever. I have to see myself there.
Yeah. And I want to say this because I think it's important for me to say. I don't wish that it was a white person there in George's place. I don't wish that were the case. And I don't wish that one day a group of white cops do that to a white young man or young woman. I don't wish that to be the case at all. Yeah. But like you're saying, I wish that everyone can see themselves there, see their son there, their daughter there, their nephew there, their best friend there, whoever. I wish we can just see ourselves there. I don't think that racism as a whole is really, like you're saying, the real problem here. Behaviors are learned, right? So a group of people who grow up in a different environment, they're taught a certain thing, and they don't know anything else, right? I was raised in a black home, of course, but I was taught to love all, to respect all. I wasn't taught to fear white people, but I have friends that was taught to fear white people. My father grew up in the South, in Georgia, during Jim Crow. Sure. And, he had a different perspective of white people than he had, than he taught us. But my mom, she grew up in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. She didn't have that perspective of white people. So she made sure that we understood diversity and we understood the value of everyone and see everyone and treat everyone equally. We weren't afraid of white people. We weren't afraid, we didn't know yes, sir, no, sir, and all those kind of things. We didn't come up in that era. But my father did. So he had a different perception about white people because of his experience. He never trusted white people. Yeah. He was very, very cautious around white people. But that was based upon his experiences, what he had learned, what he had, went through his childhood primarily dealing with. So those things are learned. And I'm just, again, I passionately believe this. That learning is changing. Yeah. I like to, look at what I see, and I do see the problem. So I'm not blind to the problem.
Yeah.
But what else do I see? Right? I look at television, and I see major corporations are using interracial couples to promote their products.
Yeah.
I see it happening more and more and more. That excites the hell out of me.
Sure.
If hell can be excited, but
well, we can't. I'm a universalist. I can't be excited about hell.
Right. Well, in the hood, we use hell in a good way. That's cool as hell. But that excites me, because what it's saying is, we believe in people. We believe in diversity. And we're not afraid to pitch our product with an interracial couple as our spokesman for this product, in this commercial, in this show, whatever. That wasn't always the case. No. People weren't throwing their dollars behind that imagery before, but now they are. And they're not saying, oh, I apologize anymore for it. They're doing it. So we're seeing change. We're seeing a consciousness of people. I tell you what, man, I love to see white kids bouncing to Jay-Z. I love it. That does something to me. Every time I see a white kid with some Jay-Z or somebody of that, losing my rap list right now, but you know what I mean? I love it. I absolutely love it. Why? Because they understand that this diversity, these different cultures, they're cool. Let's find out about it. Let's intermingle with one another. And I think the generations that continue to come behind us, I think we'll see what I was talking about earlier, where the ignorance and the stigmas and the fears that maybe their parents and their grandparents grew up with, those are dissipating.
Yeah. Because,
hey, man, Jay-Z cool. Will Smith is cool. Kyle's cool. And to me, I listen to you rap. I'm like, damn, that kid can spit. I mean, he's rap better than me for sure. Ain't no question about that. I was telling a friend of mine, I said, he probably could dance better than me too.
You saw that video with my daughter? Oh my
God. Because I know it, man.
She hates that shit. I start doing that stuff and she hates that shit. My daughter can dance. I cannot dance. I can't dance either. I just get excited about it. That's all. If you're confident about it, you don't give a shit what you look like.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, man, I appreciate you having this conversation, man. It's important. It's important but you're right. Like, we have made progress as a species.
Sure.
But at the same time, you don't want to be dualistic and say we still got a lot of work to do, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's good that you balance the reality of the situation and the hopeful eschatology. You want to use the fancy word. You have the hopeful view at the end.
Yeah.
But that doesn't cheapen the reality of where we're at right now.
Right. It doesn't take away from the moments that hurt us so deeply. Yeah. It doesn't take away from the times that these things flare up. But I do see, though, at least in this moment with George, our dear brother George, I don't know if I've ever been in a moment in my life where I've seen, and I really don't like using white, black as far as labels, but I understand that we do it for descriptive purposes.
Sure.
So, but I've never seen this many white people stand up and say, this shit is wrong. Mm-hmm. I hurt because of this. I don't know if I've ever seen it like this before. Now, that's something, again, we need everyone to stand up and say this is wrong. And maybe everyone won't.
Sure.
But you know what? Somebody said that, well, we need to vote for change. We need to cast our votes for change. And let's be honest. Haven't we done that? Haven't we been doing that? Yeah. Haven't we been voting for different people?
Yeah.
I never found and never believed politics was the answer. I just don't believe it. I think politicians pander to groups of people for their votes, and wherever they think the wind is blowing, let's go here, go there. And I honestly don't think politicians care nowhere near about us as some people care for politicians.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not fighting for a politician. I'm not going to fight you over your political choice. That's stupid. they don't know you. They don't know me. They would never fight for me that way. So why would I fight you and argue with you and get angry with you because you like this person and I like this person? I'm not going to stand up and defend a person, constantly. A political. I'm not. That's not me. I don't see what the point is in that. I don't think they would do that for you. I don't. That's me. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think they would do that for you. So you can have a political person that you prefer, but I don't think we need to be so divisive over our political, people that we choose to endorse. Anyway, my point is, people say, well, you need to stop all this foolishness. Just get out. Make sure you get out and vote. But we have been voting. And I'm sure we will continue to vote. But until the collective consciousness and the collective voice of humanity here in this country stand together with a unified voice about these things, politics won't help us. None of these other things will help us. It's going to take a we the people movement to make change the way we really need it. Because that's the only time politicians are going to listen. That's the only time the laws are really going to change, when we, the people, make our voice known and say, this is it on this topic for us. Now, you better do something about it. And you better make sure that it's always going to be this way. And I think that's when we'll see some of these other major shifts in the moments that we see right now.
Yeah. And this does, I can't put words on it, but this does seem different right now.
Yeah.
It does seem different. I don't know if it's because it's the proverbial straw that breaks the camel's back. It's another black man who got killed by another white cop or another white person. Or if it's just like it's piggybacking off the fact that we've been in quarantine and all this crazy shit's going on in the world. I don't know why, but it seems different right now. I don't know.
It does. It seems different, but in a good way. And
absolutely.
Yeah. And I know that sometimes, we can, everything is going to be, everything that happens is based upon really what we respond, how we respond. Right. So the situation happened. Now, what matters is how we respond to it. And again, there's some looting and rioting and anger being expressed out in the streets. And I understand it. I don't condone it. I understand it. But once that dies down, and it will die down, that will end. I mean, you can't go out every day and
that's almost like a side
that's just
that's not the main conversation.
That's going to go 2 or 3 days or whatever it's going to be, and it's going to dissipate and go away, and everyone's going to kind of move on from that. But the conversation needs to continue.
Yeah.
And we need to continue this conversation. We need to hear from different people from different perspectives. I want to know from my white friends why the term white privilege makes you so angry. I want to know why Black Lives Matters makes you so angry. Tell me why.
Yeah.
I want to hear your perspective. Tell me how you feel about these phrases. Now, I don't use them, and I'm not a race baiter. I don't use divisive language. That's not me. I'm a love guy. I'm trying to project love and present love and point to love. Again, not a fairy tale, but I do believe in the power of love. I do believe in that we're love beings, that we've all been created by love, through love, and to love. I think sometimes we're darkened in our understanding about it. We don't see it. We don't understand it. We don't know our own selves and our own values. So it's hard to sometimes look beyond that. But it still doesn't change my opinion about humanity. We're all love beings. This is who we are, how we've been created. We came from love. You can't be anything other than what you came from. Now, I try to project love and point people to love and unity and oneness, and let's come together and let's be together and let's do this together. That's the message I try to portray. So it will take that. So but we need to hear from everyone. We need to hear what bothers you about this. What doesn't bother you about this? We need to talk. We shouldn't draw, a line in the sand and get angry on this side and be angry on the other side, because then we're not going to hear each other anymore. We need to be able to have this dialogue and talk about it and be willing to listen to one another. I wrote a post, and then when Aubrey got killed, I never used this language before in a post, but I said, this problem started in white America, and white America, you need to fix this problem. That's how I saw it. And I had a friend call me and told me that when he read this problem started in white America, he got enraged.
Yeah.
So much to the point he wanted to unfriend me. He didn't want to talk to me anymore. And he ended up, chatting with me in Messenger, and I gave him my number. We talked, and he told me, he said, I read that column and I got so fucking mad. And I said, why? Why'd you get so mad? I mean, I'm just stating what happened historically. We didn't enslave white people.
Right.
I mean, it started with a segment of people in this community that said, let's go grab these people, let's enslave them, and let's treat them as less than humans, and let's make them feel and be, our subjects. We didn't do that, and we didn't raise our hands and say, hey, do this to us.
Yeah.
And all I was saying was, this problem started here. This problem needs to be healed from within this group of people. Not all, but So anyway, I said, why did you get so angry? Like, because I didn't do anything. And I said, I understand now. Now, we talked it through a little bit. And I actually went back and rewrote the post because I didn't want to project that I was saying this was for everybody. But I needed to hear that perspective from him. I needed to hear that so I can then go back and look at it from a perspective to say, okay, I don't want to offend all, but I still want to talk about the root problem.
Mm-hmm.
I found a way to talk about the root problem without offending other people in the process of it. Now, I'm not saying that, I succumb to his anger and his rage, but I listened to his perspective. I listened to what he was saying, and he listened to my perspective, and he walked away from the conversation saying, you know what, Kyle? I never saw it that way. I never thought about it like that before. And this is why the dialogue, the communication is so vital. We got to keep talking. We can't stop talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it reminds me of, it's like that passage from Genesis early on in the Bible. God's looking for Abel, and Cain says, what am I, my brother's keeper?
Yeah.
And the implied answer is, hell yeah, you're your brother's keeper.
Yeah.
So to use that, I mean, to draw the parallel is that did white folks living now enslave black folks in 200 years ago, 300 years ago? No. But you are your brother's keeper. You're responsible for the hand that you're dealt. And if it benefits you at the expense of other people, it is your responsibility to do whatever is needed to tear down that system that enslaves people continually. And it's not like all the guilt should be placed on
right.
Mr. White person. It's that, but you still have a responsibility for justice,
right.
which is an extension of love. Because I don't think there's love with injustices. I don't think the two are compatible. No. I don't like the language of, well, we have justice and love. They're two sides of the same coin to me, because you can't claim to love black people if you allow injustices to happen.
Right.
So, so you have a responsibility. I understand whenever you feel defensive, and the white person is going to be defensive whenever there's white privilege talked about and all this and that, but understanding that it's more about a power structure and not necessarily the melanin in your skin.
Right.
It's a power structure. It's a concept.
Yeah. I can tell you scenarios where I feel as if because I'm black, I'm going to be treated differently. I can tell you scenarios, and I can tell you scenarios. There's been times in my life where I felt specifically just because I was black. I can go into a store, right? And there's some stores I go into, and I can be followed around in the store by security just because I'm black. I can be in a line waiting to be, rung up or checked out, and there could be several white people in front of me, and the cashier is kind and friendly, and hey, how you doing? And all the whole nine, and have a great day. And I walk up to the same cashier, and I'll get the coldest, nothing. I'll even say, have a good day, and I'll get nothing from the same cashier. And sometimes I'll walk slowly out the line just to hear what she's going to say to the person behind me. Mm-hmm. And it'll be right back to, hey, how you doing? So, those things do happen sometimes.
Sure.
And it's part of again, still some of that ugliness that needs to go away. Now, I can't make her, there's nothing I can do for her to make her not be that way. She has to know this for herself, or him for himself, that this is wrong. So where the problem lies, the healing also has to come from within that same source. If I'm the problem, then the healing has to come from within me. And then once I'm healed, then I can go out and project who I really am. I think all people that do terrible, rotten, disgusting things to other people are really, in some ways victims of a misunderstanding of themselves. They don't really understand who they really are. And there's psychological aspects to it. There's these economic aspects to it. There's social aspects to it. There's a lot of different aspects that sometimes make up a person to be confused and disoriented about who they really are. And then out of that confusion and out of that disorientation, they're going to do things towards others that deep down inside they know they shouldn't be. And until they reconcile that within themselves, some of those things will continue. Now, we've seen white supremacists who were just raised in an environment, got a chance to get out of that environment, their eyes got opened, and they said, wait a minute, everything I've been taught is a lie. And they've been able to come out of that and heal themselves from those, those ugly beginnings. And I'm sure it's happened with Black people who grew up believing white people are the devil. They grew up around, the Black people, and their mama, their granddaddy told them white people the devil. That's the devil. White people the devil. I heard that phrase growing up from time to time, not from my parents, but I heard that phrase. White people are the devil. Y'all the devil. That's the devil. And I'm sure there's people that have heard that and formed this opinion, and it did some damage inside of them. But they got into a different environment and they began to see differently. They healed themselves from that. So, the healing has to come from within each individual. And part of that healing starts to take place when we're willing to see each other as ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I think anytime we can do that, that's where progress is made. When we can see ourselves in the other person, like as Jesus says, like in the least of these, like what you do to the least of these, you literally do to me.
Yeah.
And that should be one of the most powerful things. Like the least of these aren't a particular group. It's whatever group is being oppressed by the systems. It could be gay, it could be lesbian, it could be Black, it could be Native American. In the first century, it could have been women, it could have been Samaritans, it could be anyone born blind, it could be whatever it is. You have to see yourself. You have to see, if you're a Christian, you got to see Jesus. You got to see Jesus in George Floyd and saying, that's not right. Or yourself, whatever makes you more empathetic, you got to say, okay, no, I can't, I'm not okay with that. And it has to stop. This cannot continue.
Right. That's a big part of it. And I was thinking today, Matt, that I wonder, when you bring in the church aspect of this thing, I wonder for the segment of the church that does not get involved, that won't speak out, I wonder if subconsciously the programming is so deep within them to believe, or which believes, that Jesus is coming. And when Jesus comes, he's going to make everything better. And I wonder if they've projected this fix for, humanity's woes. I wonder if there's a segment of the church that believes in the second coming of Jesus and the rapture and all that jazz. I wonder if they've just subconsciously projected all these ills off to that. Like, well, Jesus is coming one day. He'll fix all this stuff. There's not really much I can do right now. I'm just going to wait for Jesus to come and fix it. Well, if you believe that, that's fine. If that's what your eschatology teaches you, and you believe that Jesus is coming back, that's cool. You believe what you like. I don't really give 3.5 nickels. But what I will say is, Jesus is not here today and might not be here tomorrow. But you are here today.
Jesus is here all the time. Come on.
Well, I mean, in the return of Jesus in that way. But, he hadn't cracked the sky today, right? He probably won't crack the sky tomorrow.
I'm guessing.
So, yeah, I'm guessing. So, but I'm here today, and Matthew's here today, and the church is here today, and the communities are here today, and we could do something today to make it better. So if you want to wait for Jesus to crack the sky, that's fine. But let's do something to make it better for everyone, including yourselves today.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the collaborative eschatology that I've heard. I think one of the problems is that things got to get worse before Jesus comes back, and that's kind of scary.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
It cannot even be about race issues at all. It could be about our relationship with Israel. It could be with
these are the last and evil days.
Yeah, it could be all these things, and that's when it gets a little scary to me. It's like, yeah, but things got to get really, really bad before Jesus comes back. And in the Left Behind theology I was given, I don't know about you, but
yeah.
But,
and that's scary. So
it's a little scary.
And it's hard to project, and that's what I'm saying. I wonder if there's a segment of the church and Christianity that just believes that so much that they just won't get involved to make things better, because they just believe it's either got to get better or we just got to wait for Jesus to crack the sky to come make it better. And, do we really want to live in an environment where if we can enact change for the better and not do anything, do we want to just live in that environment knowing that we can actually be agents of change? We can actually make it better for not only for ourselves, but for our children and our grandchildren. I think we should be projecting towards our futures and where we want to see things be. And I know we try to do that politically. Oh, we gotta vote for our future. It's just, but I still don't think politics is the answer. I don't. I never will. I think we're the answer. People are the answer. Love is the answer. Seeing each other, feeling each other, hearing one another, being empathetic with one another, being willing to love one another as we love ourselves. And I think that's another part of the equation that the church has really dropped the ball on this, and we've messed this up for people because, we have to be willing to teach people. If we're going to teach people, we have to be willing to teach people what is the core of love. It's not, I don't have to be intimate with you, Matthew. I don't have to be passionate with you, Matthew. I don't have to socialize with you, Matthew. I don't have to listen to your teachings, Matthew. I don't have to do any of those things, but I can love you to this degree. Love does no harm.
Yeah.
And if we could just teach that as a love one another principle, love does no harm. Yeah. I don't have to like your politics. I don't have to like your social stances. I don't have to like your choice of music. I don't have to like your sexual orientation. I don't have to like any of that. But I love you enough, Matthew, never to do you harm. And if we leave it at that, I think we're all good.
Yeah. Well, you better like my taste in music. Shit.
Well, particularly I do, yes.
I see what you're saying, man. I love what you're saying. I do. It's good stuff. It's been a blessing. I hope it's a blessing for people listening, because honestly, like, people who don't want to be friends with other people, you're missing out so much.
Yeah.
If you hate a certain population, like, you're missing out so much. I don't want, that's not like my main point in all of this, but like, if you're not friends with black folks and you're a white folk, like, you are missing out so much, and you have no idea how much of what you probably like is influenced by black folks. If you hate Mexicans, you're missing out on so much culture.
Oh my God, the food is amazing.
I mean, so many things. If you hate gay people, like, you are missing out on some of the funniest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
Like, it's seriously, like, your life is so much shittier if you hate other people or of a different race, religion, color, creed, sexual orientation. Like, you are fucking, I'm sorry, but you are missing out on so much of life.
Yeah.
You are, seriously.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But thank you, Kyle. Tell people where they can get a hold of you, because I love what you post. I love what you have to say. I loved having you on as our Heretic of the Week on the Heretic Happy Hour. Where can people get in touch with you, man?
My website, KyleLButler.com. If you go to my website, there's some content there, not a whole lot. I got to update it, but go to KyleLButler.com. And from there, you can get all of my social media links: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I think that's it. Oh, YouTube as well. YouTube link is there. So my main platform I love using the most is Facebook. That's where I get the most of my engagements from. So, I try to always keep some space there for new friends. I go through my friends list, pretty regularly, and just, kind of weed out people that I never have any communication with. I don't see their stuff. They probably don't see mine. So, I try to leave some space open for new friends, because I know once you hit that 5,000 number, you can't even request someone. You can only follow them at that point. And I don't mind the following part, but I like the engagements of being a potential friend, because I've met some wonderful people through Facebook. I really have. I love Facebook. I'm a professional scroller. I know how to scroll past something I don't like. I mean, I'm just good at it. I never comment on something I disagree with. I don't, unless someone asks. Ever, unless it's a question. Unless it's a question form, like someone says, "Hey, what do you think about this?" or "Give me your opinion about this." Now, if I disagree with the general question, I may add something there. But if it's like, if you don't love God, you're going to hell.
I gotta say some shit.
Scroll. Whoop. See, I'll see that one next time. I may go back and read some of the comments later, but whoop, you won't get mine on that.
You ever do this where you comment and you're like, no, I got to delete this shit.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. I'm like,
I
sit there. I'm like, should I hit enter? That's some good shit, but no.
I know, right?
I can't. I don't want to be here all day. I got stuff to do today. I can't. I can't. No.
Because see, I believe that no one's going to really change their position because I tell them I think they're wrong.
Yeah.
They're going to double down.
Yeah, true.
Much like I'm not going to change my position if you come on my page and tell me I'm wrong. Well, I think you're wrong. You're okay. Thank you.
No one asked.
I don't know what you want me to tell you at this point, but okay. So, go to my website, KyleLButler.com. You'll find my social media links there. You'll find most of my stuff on Facebook. Matthew, thank you for having me, man. I love you. I love what you're doing. I love how raw you are. I love it. You're probably next. You might have Derek beat, actually.
Oh,
Derek,
no.
they beat.
Don't start a rivalry with us, man.
Well, I think you do, because you'll just say whatever you want to say, however you want to say it. You don't give a fuck.
No, Derek says some shit.
Derek's my man. Don't get me wrong. Derek will say some shit, but you'll say some shit.
All right. Well,
I'm just learning how to say little shit.
Yeah. Well, no, I appreciate it. You had some great shit to say. I mean, I appreciate you spending an hour here. I'll link to all your stuff in all the comments, and to the listeners, please follow this guy, because you have some great stuff to say, and I appreciate you spending time with me. And
thank you.
Just talking, man. I appreciate you sharing your heart and being vulnerable. Like, you're the real deal. Appreciate you, man.
Likewise. Love you, bro.
All right. Peace.